So, greetings my dear students. I am Dr. Monica, working as Associate Professor in NIET Pharmacy Institute, Greater Noida, which has been affiliated to Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam University, and the subject which I am going to take in branch of pharmacy is pharmaceutical microbiology. It is having the code BP 303T. Now, in this subject we have already covered unit number 1, we have already covered unit number 3, and now we have already started up with the unit number 3. And in unit number 3 we have covered up in the previous lecture the topic which is structure and classification part of fungi and viruses. I discussed about how fungi can be cultivated in the lab. In this lecture too, I am mainly focusing on the part that is known as cultivation of fungi and virus. So, what we actually mean by cultivation, I have already cleared those concepts in my previous lecture. Cultivation includes isolation, it will include incubation, it will include cultivation. So, cultivation includes mainly the 3 I's. Now, the 3 I's were isolation, inoculation, incubation. Now, whether we are cultivating our bacteria, whether we are cultivating our fungi, whether we are cultivating our viruses, we need to isolate them into pure cultures, we need to inoculate them into the fresh media, we need to incubate them in the incubators. So, we have to provide the environment in which those particular species, whether it is fungi, whether it is a bacteria, whether it is a virus, we have to provide the media in which they can grow, we have to provide them the environment in which those species, particular species can grow. So, quickly we will go through the recap of cultivation of fungi. Along with that, in this lecture I will cover up the study of morphology, classification, reproduction and replication of virus, how we can classify our virus, how viruses replicate in the environment, and after that I will mainly focus on the cultivation of virus. That is very important topic which we need to cover under this lecture. So, how we can cultivate fungi, I have discussed in my previous lecture too, that cultivation of fungi we need a special type of medias. The cultivation is similar to that of bacteria. As we cultivate bacteria in the lab, which we have covered in unit number 1 in detail, that how to isolate, how to inoculate, how to incubate those species. In this lecture we have to note it down what is the main difference between the nutrient media which we require for the cultivation of fungi. We need to note down what are the environmental conditions which are required for fungi, which differs from that of bacteria. And similarly, we also need to note it down that how to incubate these type of species, how we cultivate fungi in the lab, that was the main topic in case of which we have discussed before too. So, in this case what we need to require, the media which differs from that of bacteria. The bacterial species require nutrient media like they require a beef extract, they require peptone extracts, they require special type of media like agar media, nutrient broth, they require special type of medias. So, fungi also require special type of media. The best media which is being used for the cultivation of fungi is Saborides dextrose agar media. Now, Saboride dextrose agar media, it is sufficient for the recovery of mainly dermatophytes. Saboride dextrose agar media is always used in a concentration of 2%. So, this is the main media which is being used for the cultivation of fungi, which differs from that of bacteria. Similarly, we can also go for Saborides heart diffusion media, we can go for brain heart infusion agar media. Casepax, agar media, these are the medias which are actually, which provide nutrients to the fungi for their growth. So, nutrition media which are being required for the cultivation of fungi are, this is the main media, these medias will provide nutrients for the growth of fungi. So, nutrients will be provided with such type of medias. We can also go for inhibitory mold media. This is one of the example of medias which we can use for the growth of fungi, like inhibitory mold agar, mycosal and mycobiotic agar. It is generally Saborides dextro agar, which is have been attached with the cycloheximide and chloroamphenicol is being added within this media. So, we can also go for Niger seed media, and it is used for the mainly identification of special type of fungi. So, these are the medias which we can use, which can provide nutrition for the growth of fungi. Similarly, what is the main difference between that is environmental conditions which are required for the growth of fungi is the optimum pH which they require for the growth is 3.8 to 5.6, whereas we have studied in bacteria case, bacteria may be acidophiles, bacteria may be basophiles, bacteria may be neutrophiles. They can grow in acidic media, they can grow in basic media, they can grow in neutral media, but fungi are generally require the pH condition which range from 3.8 to 5.6. Similarly, the temperature conditions which fungi require is 22 to 30 degrees Celsius. They grow at a temperature, generally most of the fungi grow at a temperature of 22 to 30 degrees centigrade. Similarly, if we go for oxygen level, bacteria are aerobic, bacteria are anaerobic, they are obligate aerobes, they are obligate anaerobes. So, but fungi are strictly aerobic modes, they are facultative yeast. So, these are actually, they do not require oxygen for the growth, they are strictly aerobic. They require, that is oxygen level, they highly require oxygen for the growth. So, after that comes light requirements, they do not require any light for the growth. So, sugar concentration we have to put in the range of 4 to 5%, and carbon requirement is organic. As they are organic, they are also known as chemoorganotropes. We also use the word that is organotropes for these type of species like fungi, because they require carbon from the organic source. They get their carbon from the organic source only. So, that is why they are also known as organotropes. And once we have isolated, once we have inoculated in the media, and once we have that is after inoculation, we have to incubate whatever conditions we have mentioned in this slide, that you have to incubate at a pH of 3.8 to 7.6, and you have to set the temperature in the incubator, that is ranging from 22 to 30 degrees centigrade. As they are aerobic in nature, they require oxygen. So, generally they are grown in BOD incubators, and light, they do not require any light. So, that is why they are always placed in the BOD incubators, and we grow fungi and molds after 7 to 14 after 7 to 14 days. We will see that the molds which we have inoculated within the petri plates, they will grow and they will appear like this. This we can see as a picture after growth, how they will look like. So, how we can cultivate fungi in the lab. Now, after understanding about the fungi, now we have to move towards the virus. Now, what is the main difference between virus, bacteria and fungi? I have covered up that mainly bacteria are prokaryotic in nature, whereas fungi are eukaryotic in nature. Now, what about viruses? Viruses are actually submicroscopic infectious agents that actually replicates within the inside the living cells. They can't be grown, and when they are outside the body or outside the within the air, then they can't grow. They require living cells for their growth. They are a special type of creatures. Viruses actually are special type of creatures. They are neither eukaryotes, they are neither prokaryotes. They are special creatures which actually replicates inside the living cells. They can't grow outside. So, viruses viruses infects all type of life forms. They infect animals, they infect plants, they infect bacteria, even they affect the other microorganisms too. So viruses are actually pathogenic. We are facing the problem like COVID in our areas. So that is also a problem of virus. They don't replicate if they are present on the, that is present in the air. If they will not replicate if they are present on any of the dead surface. So but only they will replicate or they will increase in number when they are inside the living cells, they are inside the living organisms, then they will replicate and their number will increase. So these are special type of creatures and we can't grow or we can't cultivate them as we cultivate bacteria or fungi in the lab. We can't cultivate viruses in the lab, in the normal pharmaceutics labs and normal microbiology lab. For that we need special type of labs in which we can do the animal cell cultures, so that we get living organisms, living cells in which we can grow such kind of viruses. So for cultivation of virus, that is totally different when we compare with that of bacteria and fungi. Whereas bacteria and fungi, we require normal nutrient growth, we require normal condition, environmental condition in which those microorganisms can grow. But for cultivating the virus, we need special animal cell cultures we have to obtain. We can grow them in the animals, we can grow them within the eggs, embryonic eggs are there, we can grow them within the egg cells, or we can grow them in the organ cells, we can grow them in the tissue culture we can do. But viruses will always be grown in special environmental condition and they will only grow inside the living cells. And the study of viruses is known as virology. When we study virus in details, whether we are studying their morphologies, whether we are studying their structures, whether we are studying their classification, that all comes under the special category subject known as virology. The study of viruses is called virology. So viruses display diversity of shapes, they have different kinds of shape, they exist in different types of shape within the environments. Based on that, they have different type of morphologies too. So depending upon the structures, depending upon the shapes of the viruses, we can categorize them into various categories, into various morphologies. In general, viruses are much smaller. When we study viruses, viruses are very small as compared to bacteria. Some of the flow viruses have total length of up to 14 nanometer. Their diameters are only about 30 nanometers. Most viruses cannot be seen with normal microscopes. They are highly, as they are very minute in shape or structure, they are smaller. So that is why we can't see them even with the normal microscopes, bright field or that is compound microscopes which are available within the lab. We can't see those viruses with using those microscopes. We need special type of microscopes which are mainly electron microscopes are being used for that is observing the viruses in the labs, like scanning electron microscopes, like we can go for transmission electron microscopes, but we can see viruses with the help of optical microscopes like scanning and transmission electron microscope, as they are very small in size and we won't be able to see with the bright field or compound microscopes which are available within the normal labs, microbiological labs. So after that, when we move towards the structure of viruses, what the structure of viruses is? Actually, the complete virus particle is known as virion. The complete structure, the complete virus particle we say as virion, and it consists of actually nucleic acids. Now nucleic acids may be DNA or maybe RNA, and they are consist of nucleic acids. Along with that, they are actually surrounded by a protective coat of protein called capsid. We call a protective protein capsid. So this is a special type of DNA is there within the cell structure, and that DNA or RNA unit is being protected with the help of structure, a layer, that protective coat is actually called as capsid. This is DNA or RNA, this is known as capsid, and the capsid is made from proteins encoded by the viral genome, and its shape serves as the basis for morphological distinction. So, these are affected by the viral genomes, and these make a protective layer around the DNA and RNA. There are formed, these are actually, the capsid is mainly formed from identical protein subunits known as capsomers. Capsomers are the protein subunits which actually make this layer of capsid. Viruses can have also a lipid layer around them. When we see viruses, viruses can also have the lipid layer around them. That lipidic layer actually comes from the cells, from the animals in which in which we grow these type of viruses. So, that lipid layer originate from the host cell membranes. Host cell membranes are the membranes in which the viral genomes are mainly cultivated. So, they have DNA or RNA units, they have nucleic acids units which are being surrounded by protective coat known as proteins, made up of proteins called capsid, and those capsid proteins are also further made up of capsomers, and after that they also being covered with the layer envelope, that is lipidic envelope, which is mainly derived from the host cell membrane. This is the main structure which we can say that this is the main structure of virus. Now, main structure of virus, as this unit is actually responsible, this is called as nucleic acid genome, which is actually DNA or RNA, which is being present inside the cell structure, in the viral cell structures. So, after that this RNA or DNA unit is being covered with the help of like this is a protein like unit. This is a capsid, this layer we call as, this is a protective layer around the viral nucleic acid genome which covers the whole, this make a protective layer around the viral nucleic acid genome. So, this is what we call as capsid, which is actually made up of protein, and this capsid is also mainly responsible for the structural differences, for diversities in the morphology. Based on the structure of this capsid layer, that may be helical, that may be circular, that may be that shapes may differ for this protective layer, and based on that we have different kinds of morphologies, different types of shapes and structures of the viruses. So, after that, that protein capsid is further covered with the help of a phospholipid envelope. This is known as your phospholipid envelope. It is further covering the whole viral genome, which has been covered with the help of, that is capsid, and after that it is further being covered or that is enveloped with the help of phospholipid layer, and this phospholipid layer always comes from the host cells. After that comes types of viruses. Now, what are the main types of viruses? Types of viruses are, as I told, depending upon the structure of the capsid. Capsid means the layer that covers or envelopes the viral genome, that is nucleic acid genome like RNA. It has been covered with the help of a capsid, and this capsid is as helical in shape. That is why this type of virus is known as helical genome, and this is known as polyhedral. As their capsid structure is polyhedral in nature, you can see we call it as polyhedral structure. This is a DNA and this is a capsid, and capsid structure is polyhedral, that is why they are known as polyhedral. Similarly, in this case you can see that it is the RNA unit, it has been covered with the help of a capsid layer, and that capsid layer is spherical in nature. So, that is why we always say it as spherical genome. And after that, this is a complex bacteriophage. This is a DNA, this is the head, and this has been covered with the help of a tail sheath, and this have a tail fiber like structure, and this is a complex bacteriophage. This is also known as complex bacteriophage. So, on the basis of, that is what we call as capsid structure, the variation in morphologies occurs. So, genonym, that is genomic diversity among viruses may be affected by due to, that is, property of nucleic acids, that may be affected due to shapes of, that is, capsid, and they may be affected due to the steadiness of the structure. So, depending upon the DNA, they have different type of genome morphology, depending upon whether they have RNA or whether they have DNA or whether they have both the that is nucleic acid cycles like DNA and RNA within the same cell, then they have different type of diversities will be there. Depending upon shape, they can also be differentiated, like some are linear in nature, some are circular, some are segmented. Depending upon the steadiness, they may be single stranded, they may be double stranded, they may be double stranded with regions of single threadedness. So, depending upon their properties, we can classify our different types of viruses, depending whether they contain DNA, whether they contain RNA, whether they contain both DNA and RNA, we can classify them. We can also classify based on the shapes, based on the structure of capsid which they have, whether they are linear, whether they are circular, whether they are segmented. So, in this way we can diversify our viruses depending upon various properties. So, after that comes the replication of virus. Now, how viruses actually replicates? Virus, as I told, virus will not replicate outside the living cell, they will replicate inside the living cells. So, as you can see in this diagram, first these are the viruses which are present within the environment, but they will not replicate outside the living cell. They will first attach, fusion will takes place with the living cell. This is a living cell. When they will get fused with the living cell, what will happen? They will endocytosis will occur and they will go towards the that is nucleus, and when they will move towards nucleus, first they will attach, after they will cytoskeleton nuclear spore will get that is entrapped within the nucleus, and in this nucleus the RNA will replicate, RNA or DNA, whatever the polymerase units will be, they will replicate and they will form the endoplasmic membrane, endoplasmic reticulum cells, and after that they will polymerize, and after that they will that is generate different types of when RNA units will replicate, they will generate that new proteins or new structures of viruses, and they will come out by the process of exocytosis from the cell in the form of different genomes, in the form of viruses. So, in this way they will only, when they are outside they will not replicate, when they will move inside the cell and they will enter the nucleus of the cell, living cells, then only they will replicate, and after replication what will happen? They will exocytose, by exocytosis process they will move out of the cells, and in this way number of that is virus will increase. After that comes the cultivation of virus. Now, cultivation of virus, if we talk about cultivation, as I told, will not takes place outside the body, it will not take place in the dead cells, or it will not take place in the environment or air, it will take place only when they will come in contact with the living cells. Viruses are extremely small infectious agents that will invade the cells of all types, whether they are animal cells, whether they are plant cells, whether they are other microorganisms. They will first come in contact with the living cells, surviving cells, and that is why they are also known as obligate intracellular parasites. So, because they depend upon the host cell for their growth, they survive only in the presence of the host cell. They cannot be grown in the non-living culture medias, in the nutrient media, in agar media. We can't grow such type of viruses outside the body or within the microbiome lab in which we have nutrient media, but there are no living cells within the media. Until and unless we will not be having living cells, they will not grow. So, techniques which are required for cultivation of viruses are, the viruses require living cells as their medium. They can't be grown outside the body, so they require living cells. Now, the cells may be come from tissues, that may come from the organs, that may come from anywhere, but the cells must be living. So, the culture of that is viruses can be done, we can cultivate them either in vivo or in vitro. In vivo, inside the body, And in vitro we can go for animal cell cultures, we can go for cell or tissue culture method, we can adopt for the growth of the growth of viruses. We can't grow them until and unless we don't have any living cells or living tissues. So viruses cultivation is actually like this. We have to inject viruses within the animals, we have to give subcutaneous injection within the animals. This is the culture, these cells are being inoculated within the animals, injected in the animals. In animals they will replicate, and after dissection we will obtain and we can that is isolate those viruses from the animals. We have to first inoculate the animal with the help of that virus cell, and after that inoculation we have to, that is they will multiply, and after we have to dissect that animal and we have to remove that virus cells. Similarly, we can also inoculate within the, that is embryonic cell. This is a cell embryonic which has embryo within the cell, and in this case we can inject the virus within the cell, and after injection we have to incubate the whole cell in the incubator, and we have to remove that cell from the after 7 to 14 days, and the virus will replicate. So, in this way virus can be cultivated within the animals as well as in vitro within the eggs. Eggs shell we can take, and we can first sterilize the surface of the egg cell and then inject it with the help of, we will inoculate that cell with the help of viruses, and after inoculation we have to incubate the whole egg within the incubator. We have to provide the conditions for that is proper conditions for that is growth, and once they will replicate we have to remove, we have to isolate those viruses from the eggs or animals after dissection of those or both. So, these are the references which you can follow. So, thank you so much.